updates. Good morning, Tobago. Wake up with Kandace and Denise. Let's go, go. It's a brand new morning. Rise up to a brand new dawning. As the passion start to rise, the energy fill the skies. I say thanks for favor to wake up and hear me neighbor. 60,000 people strong, and the vibes is never wrong. We are beauty, we are power. We are people in the sun. We are beaches, we are rivers. We are melanated ones. We special and there is no denying. Tobago is number one. I am you and you are me. Together we stronger. Good morning, Tobago. Good morning, Tobago. Good morning, Tobago.
Welcome to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates, your source for current affairs in Tobago, Trinidad, and the region. With the perfect conversations to complement your morning routine, I am Kandace Jackson, and let's get started with the news in 90 seconds. The Tobago Hotel and Tourism Association called for a broader plan to treat with crime on the island. THTA President Alpha Lord said that even though increased patrols and vehicle searches are good short-term crime plans, a more holistic plan is needed. He explained that crime is a product of society and society's evolution must be considered in drafting an effective crime fighting plan. He also called on the relevant authorities to pay attention to the root causes of crime. Additionally, Lord raised concerns about the possible negative long-term effect on communities and families affected by criminals. Meanwhile, opposition Senator David Naked accused the Commissioner of Police, Earl Christopher, of being delusional for giving herself an excellent rating for her first 100 days in office. According to Naked, rising crime statistics tell a different story, and it is worrying that the top cop seems to be ignoring the data. He added that she appeared to be following a disturbing trend of anybody serving under the present administration of the central government, meaning that they are becoming delusional in office. Christopher rated her performance as excellent at the sports day for the Police Academy in St. James on Saturday. And finally, even though Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley announced the relaxing of all COVID-19 health protocols, masks remain mandatory at all hospitals and healthcare centers across the nations. Failure to do so will result in a $2,000 fine for adults and a $1,000 fine for children to be paid by the accompanying adult. On May 5th, the World Health Organization declared that COVID-19 was no longer a public health emergency, while the Health Ministry said that they recorded low positives for the coronavirus over the last few months. And that was your news in 90 seconds. Well, viewers, we are turning our attention this morning to some matters of the environment. And on with us, we have Mr. Sean Mccoon, who is the Manager and Director of Environment Tobago.
Manager and Public Relations
Officer of Environment Tobago. Of course, no stranger to us here. So we're going to get things started as to, some things that are happening within our space. And I guess we could start with the Sargassum. We could start with the Sargassum Seaweed problem that we're having. So, of course, viewers, we know that since 2011, our shores have been inundated with the seaweed, and it seems to be getting worse and worse every year. And it's not just Tobago that's being affected, it's all of the Caribbean. It's going across the Caribbean Sea, even to the shores of Mexico and Nicaragua at the same time. So, it's a whole lot of, scientists are still at loss as to, what is exactly causing. They have some theories, but the data is still unknown as to what's really causing it. But it is really affecting us. But, what is the latest updates, Mr. Mccoon, in relation to, the new trends, or are there any new trends as to how the Sargassum is moving, growing, multiplying out there?
All right, so good morning, Kandace. Good morning to everyone viewing. And let me first let me first say that this year is projected to be the worst in terms of the influx, in terms of the amount of sargassum in 10 years, roughly, in a decade. So that is what we're staring at in the face. That is what we're looking at. Sargassum is here, whether we want to accept it or not. And I think boat operators, fisher folk, people who enjoy our coasts and beaches for leisure activities can all agree that it is a bit of a nuisance.
Yes.
How do we turn that around, Kandace? We have a duty and responsibility to report when we see sargassum, take photographs, report it to the Department of Natural Resources and the Environment, or Fisheries, as the case may be, and even your friendly local NGOs like Environment Tobago. We want to document the whole thing.
So is there any process to report it? Because, you know, one of the things that's out there is that I know that some scientists are wanting, every time you spot Sargassum seaweed out on the shores, you know, you take your photos and you document it and you send it into them because, like I said, the data is still missing. We don't have enough data to really understand fully what's happening. So, I mean, for somebody who frequently visits the beach, what are the mediums that they can use to send in their reports?
Right. So you have three, at least, types of entities that would be able to capture or receive the data or reports, as the case may be. You have the state arms, which would be Department of Fisheries, Department of Natural Resources and the Environment, as the case may be, right? They would be able to take from you or any marine interest that may have sargassum sightings, even if it's not making landfall on the coast, if it's out in the ocean, they can, those entities can capture that data or take the reports. Then you have NGOs, CBOs, and environmental organizations such as Environment Tobago. We would be more than happy to take your reports, take your questions, take your perhaps pictures, videos, and then we can pass it on to the relevant authorities as well. That would also assist us in doing our research and coming up with solutions, right? And then you have the larger entities like the Institute of Marine Affairs and people like that who use the data to do proper analysis on what is happening with sargassum, and then it contributes to at least some sort of solution-based approach. Another thing I wanted to point out, Kandace, is that there is now a national sargassum response plan, right? It existed since 2018. For those of us who do not know or may not have known, that National Sargassum Response Plan existed since 2018. Now, the Tobago House of Assembly, as it relates to our context here in Tobago, has launched a program called the Sargassum Innovation Challenge with the United Nations Development Program, with funding from the government of Japan through the Japanese Embassy in Trinidad, and also the Tobago House of Assembly. So that basically is a challenge that is put out, and you have grant funding available to anybody who comes up with an innovative approach or a project or some sort of pilot program to use sargassum and monetize it, or come up with a product that, you know, is useful or
because
exportable.
I mean, it's not exactly as you see, you know, like when it first started appearing on our shores, you know, the authorities was like, you know, there's an opportunity for people within our space to just see what they can make out of it.
Right.
And while there is potential, you have to also understand the biological and chemical makeup of the sargassum to understand how you can use it. And again, we're still discovering all of that.
Yeah.
And I guess you could probably share with us some of the challenges that, you know, we face, innovators are facing in terms of figuring out what's the best way to use sargassum.
All right. So off the top of my head, I can tell you what has been done before. Sargassum has been blended with other things to make mulch. In some cases, they're saying that it's good for animal feed, but in some cases, there are certain elements or certain things that get intertwined or trapped in the sargassum along the way, such as mercury, because out on the ocean, you have ships, you have oil tankers, you have all of those things that dump toxic waste into the oceans, and the sargassum being a living, growing thing, right, and an organic substance that continues growing and accumulating, and moving across the ocean, it would tend to pick up the said toxins along the way. So by the time it makes landfall, you would find that there's a high concentration of certain things. You even find marine life, fish, different things caught up in it. And that in itself is a challenge. So we now have to mitigate against that and deal with the toxins. So if someone can come up with a way to extract that, or extract the things that are negative or harmful, dangerous, we can now use the bare sargassum with those things having been extracted.
And Environment Tobago is also looking at one of those ways.
Yeah, so we are looking, so let me explain. There is a threat. Let me give you an example. There's the Petitru Lagoon, which is just next to Magdalena and Tobago plantations. Classic example, the sargassum makes landfall, or at least there's a pileup of sargassum, and it has happened since 2017 onward, or even before. And we have documented evidence and proof that the pileup of sargassum in that mangrove ecosystem is actually rotting, and it's killing out the mangrove ecosystem. So first and foremost, we have to extract the piled, rotting sargassum from that mangrove. And then what we can have come out of that, which is what we are proposing, is to do a pilot project for mangrove rehabilitation and mangrove ecosystem restoration. So that would entail extraction of the sargassum. We look at ways to use it or dispose of it, as the case may be. So that creates jobs, yeah. The extraction takes manpower, that's a job, yeah. And then you have the scientific aspect of it. So students who are doing marine biology, marine studies, marine sciences can now come in and do their studies and their research and contribute to what will rebuild that mangrove ecosystem. Now, it's a small enough area. If you know the Petitru Lagoon, where the boardwalk is, it's dying. It's not a good look. It's taking away from the aesthetic of that area. And it's a well-known spot where people do wedding shots and different things and photo shoots, etc. And it adds a nice touch to what used to be, So that project is something we are looking at doing, a mangrove rehabilitation program as a result of the sargassum pileup. So that can effectively create jobs. It can encourage scientific research and data collection analysis. And also it rebuilds an ecosystem. So out of a problem, we're solving another problem, because sargassum is something that comes from nature, and it's destroying other things that are sensitive in nature. So we now have to use that opportunity, yes, to monetize the sargassum, but also to rebuild those sensitive ecosystems, coastal ecosystems, mangroves, wetlands, etc.
Certainly. And then further to that, there are some other things that Environment Tobago are involved in terms of, partnerships. And
Right.
so would you like to share some of that?
Yes, Environment Tobago is a great and large advocate for sustainable partnerships. Now, Sustainable Development Goal 17 is sustainable partnerships, or partnerships for the goals. And we have since spoken to the Tobago Reforestation and Watershed Rehabilitation Program, right? There's a slogan that Environment Tobago has come up with, and write it down if you have to. It's #MoreTreesPlease, right? So we're sharing that with reforestation. We're sharing that with any of our environmental partners, and we want to make that a household name here in Tobago.
And if you want to know why that is important, look, just take a walk through Scarborough during the day, and you realize how unbelievably hot it can be, steamy and
Exactly.
hot. And part of that is because we're lacking trees in Scarborough.
Yes, absolutely, Candace. And that aside, let's talk about something that we know of and that is tangible, we can see, and that we are aware of, which is the rainforest reserve, right? The main ridge forest reserve, sorry, right? Which is has received its just due in terms of accolades and awards. We have the Man and the Biosphere designation that was given, right? And it demonstrates clearly that having this amount of trees and this amount of green space on our island takes us places. And it actually does great things for us as an island here in Tobago. So more trees, please. Hashtag more trees, please, is what we're pushing. And Tobago Reforestation is cooperating with us on that. They are looking to push that that hashtag and that slogan as well. Other partnerships. Tobago, Environment Tobago is doing a beach cleanup on the first Sunday of June, which is the 4th of June, and that is in partnership with the Medical Association of Trinidad and Tobago, the Tobago chapter. They have approached us and they see some value in doing things in the natural environment. So we have since spoken to the Fisheries Department, and that beach cleanup will take place on Turtle Beach. So what we're effectively doing is raising awareness for the fact that that's a turtle nesting site, and we want to clean up the beach and so on. And then we'll be planting a few trees. So the hotel, which is Starfish Resort, which is on that beach, they are now going to become stewards of the trees that we plant. So their staff and even their guests can get involved. So it's a nice activity, and we're looking to expand on those said partnerships. Just the day before that, which is the 3rd of June, we have another beach cleanup planned for Magdalena. And we're doing that with the Office of the Prime Minister and Central Administrative Services Tobago in Scarborough. They have approached us as well. We had a tree planting exercise with them last year, which was very successful. We cleaned up Mount Irving Beach. Some of the trees died. I think, Candace, you may have covered
that was last year.
Right, and some of the trees have died, but the others on the opposite side of the road survived. And it's just a matter of stewardship and how we care for the natural environment around us. So that
because at the end of the day, it's all about keeping Tobago clean, green, safe, and serene. And even though we are under the new tagline now of the greatest island on the planet, that slogan still has an importance as to the type of presentation that we want to make to the world, as well as how we as a society are taking care of managing our island.
Right. Now, something I overheard a Norwegian guest to the island who came off a cruise ship, and he made a statement to me and a friend of mine who's a tour guide, and said, how people, the pride people have in their country or their island, as the case may, in our case, based on how the environment is kept and how it's cared for. And that tells you a lot about the people. So if we here in Tobago are serious about not just our tourism product, but how we present ourselves to the world outside, I think we should take the environment very seriously. And I will use this interview as a call to action. If anybody wants to get involved with Environment Tobago, you want to reach out to us, you want to be a part of our initiatives, we would be more than happy to receive you, talk to you, hear what your ideas are, and we can see if we can help you roll that out. And our website is www.environmenttobago.net, and you can email us at office@environmenttobago.net. That's how you can find us or reach us. And we're on Facebook as well. Just look for Environment Tobago. We want to hear from you. We want to partner with you. We want to get the book. Kandace, I believe you are also a member of Environment Tobago.
Yes. So, it's all about, making sure that we all do our part in taking care of Tobago. And as you were speaking, Mr. Mccoon, Tobago at one point in time was known, you come to Tobago and everybody's front yards, you have all these beautiful flowers and it's
Yeah.
very well kept. Maybe we should get back to that. We still have some of those people that
Yeah.
made the effort.
Absolutely.
Let's gain some knowledge from them and let's try. Let's try to get
Yes.
back to that spot because it can only make our island better.
Right, absolutely. And more on the critical, hard-hitting part of that statement, Kandace, is the fact that without the natural environment, we would have nothing to give, nothing to present. If we mash up the rainforest, if we destroy the beaches, if we litter, if we mash up the reef, and all these different things, right? That's as plain as I can get, right? We will basically be destroying our product, and we will be destroying our island and what we have to offer. People,
and just us being able to live at the end of the day.
Absolutely, because the natural environment provides food, it provides sustenance, it allows human life to continue.
Yes.
And when you go up to the foot of the rainforest on Roxborough side and you see down in the gully large deposits of garbage and refuse and so on, it irks you, it makes you feel like, why are we doing this to
is not
ourselves?
part of Tobago's culture.
Right, and we're destroying ourselves.
But unfortunately, our own people are doing this, and we as Tobagonians need to be stewards of our own environment and put an end to some of these things that is not part of us. All right, viewers. Well, thank you, Mr. Mccoon, for being on with us. We are on for out time for this segment, but we have a lot more coming up for you on the program, so please don't go anywhere. We'll be back after this break.
As the passion start to rise, the energy fill the skies.